Here comes Vivo's latest flagship smartphone, the X90. This is the new X90 family of smartphones that are split in a total of 3 different variants. So we have the X90 base model that we have here, the X90 Pro and also the X90 Pro Plus. I'm really glad that Vivo Malaysia sent us the base model of the X90 because I think this phone is adequate enough compared to many other high-profile smartphones in the market today. So let's begin with the review. Starting off, I want to talk about the design of this phone. It has a curved edge design from the bottom to the front, making it supremely comfortable to hold. And the curvature is also very nice to the point that it still makes the volume button and power buttons easy to press and not too sharp. The breeze blue color is also stunning, and in this matte finish, it just makes the phone look so much more unique compared to many other phones. However, I really do not like the extreme imagination tagline here. It just makes the entire phone look very tacky and ruins the aesthetics. Of course, we also have the huge ZEISS logo and specs of the lens printed somewhere along the top right corner of this phone. With that, we should talk about the cameras. The Vivo X90 comes with a total of 3 cameras. Yes, only 3 of them, even though there are 4 camera holes with this super big circular glass that covers all of the lenses. At first, I was surprised that the telephoto camera does not actually have autofocus. That means it is meant for landscape shots only and super long range shots. And that kind of makes sense because you will be focusing at infinity anyway. Either way, the Vivo X90 does have a lot of features in terms of its camera app. We'll go through the most basic first by not having anything extra turned on. There is no argument that the Vivo X90 can take beautiful shots. In its default mode, I really do like the color profile as the color saturation is definitely high, but some of the pictures here with the sky are a bit too unrealistically blue. For these shots of the Merdeka 118 tower, I'm not sure if the composition of the scene made the scene detection algorithm process the photos differently, but all 3 cameras of the Vivo X90 resulted in different overall brightness and colors, especially the sky. Actually, for the main camera in particular, even the Merdeka 118 tower itself is bluer just like the sky. I'm just gonna shut up here and let you see some pictures taken by the Vivo X90. Again, generally looks great, but the sky color is definitely a bit weird. However, there is yet another mode called the ZEISS Natural Color to essentially remove all of the color profile that Vivo baked into the X90. If we take a look at the same pictures again, then yes, the sky color is definitely more realistic, but the color vividness is also gone. I mean, just take a look at these comparisons here. Then comes the night shots. They do look great, but the shots were taken at KL City Centre, which in itself is already brightly covered in lights at night. Since we are talking about night shots, there is yet another feature that Vivo has, and it is something called the Enhanced Night Sky mode. It actually does make a difference, but only slightly. The sky is a bit brighter than before, but that's about it. Maybe this feature will be more useful if there's no light pollution and then you want to take some pictures of the sky, starlight and whatever. If you do find yourself taking these kind of photos with this option, then let me know down in the comment section below. As for the videography of this phone, it can capture up to 4K 60fps with standard stabilization. There are actually a few levels of stabilization to choose from, and here are 2 videos of me walking around, and I use the Vivo X90 in both standard stabilization and also the extreme stabilization modes. For the standard stabilization, I was whipping the phone back and forth, and it was a really crowded area, so I had to sneak around to get to whatever I want to be. And then I switch over to Ultra Stabilization and the footage become a lot smoother. Do keep in mind that Ultra Stabilization is only available at 1080p 60fps. You could also change it to ZEISS Cinematic mode as well, but the aspect ratio is a bit weird since it is not using the usual Cinematic 21:9 aspect ratio and locks down to only 1920x800 at 30fps. And to view all of the pictures and videos taken, we have a 6.78-inch AMOLED screen with a maximum of 120Hz refresh rate, and also the native resolution at 2800 by 1260 pixels. However, Vivo locked it down to 2400 by 1080 out of the box. I have no idea why. It's just something that you should take note of when you unbox the phone if you're gonna buy it. The screen in itself is actually great. It covers 99.96% of sRGB and 98.29% of DCI-P3 color gamuts with a maximum delta E number of less than 2. The maximum brightness is at around 530 nits, which is adequate enough for day-to-day use indoors, but under direct bright sunlight outdoors, it might be difficult. What I don't like about this display though is the location of the under-display fingerprint scanner. It is placed way too low on the display and it's just not ergonomic to use. One great thing about this phone is of course the chipset. Powered by the latest and greatest MediaTek Dimensity 9200 chipset, this phone is just amazing. In our gaming tests, we showed that this phone, even though there were some occasional hiccups, and I think that has to do mostly with the game instead of the phone itself, it still managed to maintain a very high frame rate throughout the entire gameplay of Genshin Impact with the highest graphical settings at 60 FPS. It even managed to maintain at around 40 degrees Celsius in an air-conditioned room at about 27 degrees ambient, and I think that's very amazing. And the efficiency, well, that 4810 mAh battery managed to surprise me. We used PCMark battery life test as usual, and with the phone brightness locked down to 100 nits only, we actually did the test twice. First with the lowered resolution of 2800 by 1080 pixels, and the second time with 2800 by 1260 pixel resolution. What we found out years ago is that the resolution doesn't actually affect your battery life much, and only your refresh rate affects your battery life the most. Still, we got at around 16 hours between these two tests, which is honestly insane because 16 hours in that test was never achieved before by a high-performing chipset like the Dimensity 9200. The Vivo X90 also comes with a 120-watt charger, and we've been using our new charging methodology to test this phone as well. We were able to get the exact voltage level to determine the battery level instead of using the percentage alone, and also able to log the temperature so that we can see how hot the battery gets when it's charging. The result that we got is that this phone can charge from 15% to completion in about 40 minutes, and the maximum temperature achieved is at somewhere less than 40 degrees Celsius, and I think that is very safe. Unfortunately, the Vivo X90 does not support USB PD charging standards, so our Ugreen 100W SCAN charger only managed to charge this phone at 18 watts maximum, and that took about 65 minutes to charge to completion. Finally, the software. The Vivo X90 is using the FunTouch OS 13 on top of Android 13, and I do think that FunTouch OS is kind of underrated because the settings menu, navigation and whatnot, it overall looks and feels really good to use. The camera UI, even though it has a lot of features and options packed in, doesn't actually feel overwhelming, and I think that they just managed to space things out nicely. There are a bunch of pre-installed apps like hot games and hot apps that I'm not really a fan of, because Vivo also has their own app store called the V App Store, and this V App Store also pushes out a lot of ads via notification as well. And here are a few more things that I want to quickly point out before ending this review. The Vivo X90 in particular, the base version, still uses a USB 2.0 port at the bottom. Since this phone is using a USB 2.0 port, that means no HDMI output via USB Type-C too. And from what I can find out, the Vivo X90 Pro and the Pro Plus uses USB 3.0. This phone also does not have a microSD card slot and does not have an audio jack like many other phones in the market right now, but it does have an IP64 rating. Okay, conclusion time then. At this point in time of filming, I do not have the official price of the Vivo X90 here in Malaysia. Assuming that the X90 price is somewhere or maybe just super slight increase over the Vivo X80 from last year, then I think it is actually quite decent of a price. It does have a unique camera system, great chipset, exceptionally good battery life, and also a great design. It's just that the Extreme Imagination tagline is just cover it up. Overall, I really do like this phone, and if you want to buy this phone, then do wait for the official price. I will leave my thoughts and whatnot down in the description below when we have the price, so check that out as well. I will also pin the comment, and yeah, this good phone. If you have any questions, do leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.